Welcome back here of a Thursday night, Sheffield Live TV Talking Sheffield. The sport is the accent, lots of sport actually, it's not just football. People accuse us of that, but actually Blades and Owls are king in this city really, James Gregg. There's no getting away from it. If we want an audience for this show, we have to have Blades and Owls featured, and we do, but we're very conscious that there's more to the city than that. There's rugby league, there's speedway, there's ice hockey, you name it. And
so much going on.
You bring it on a weekly basis. And, by the way, Steven Haslam is still with us for the second half of the show. Not being rude, Stephen, coming you out. And I'm very, very conscious about diversifying. I'm very conscious about Olympic medalists.
Yep.
And I'm very conscious, I'd love to have, for instance, Jess. Grace our studio at some stage.
Yeah, I know, absolutely.
Really would.
Well, Tony Minicello, a friend of the programme, was doing the BBC Athletics last week. He was sort of as a pundit, sort of track side, so I thought, there he is.
Well, Tony's been in a couple of times. And also Bryony as well.
Yeah,
Bryony.
that'd be great, yeah.
We'd love to have Bryony on the show. So there we are. I mean, direct means of approach to people of that standing is very, very difficult, but there are people in the middle that might help. So, right, okay, I don't know where that all came from. That was all ad-lib. It's because we don't have an auto-cue in the studio. No, it's partly. But we would like to diversify. Steven Haslam, before we come to James, some very sad news last week, and I know he'd been ill for some time. And he's a guy that not everybody would know of our viewers, but within the football fraternity in this city, the name of Steve Adams is one that, resonated, and everybody knew him, everybody respected him, everybody liked him. And he was a great part of what you did at Sheffield Wednesday, wasn't he?
Yeah, he ran the football in the community scheme for many years. As a man, he loved football, he was very humorous, and you felt energised by being in his company. And even towards the latter part of his life, if you saw him, he didn't moan, he cracked a joke, generally took the mick out of you, and he left you in a good place. So he was a wonderful man and very sadly missed.
An inspirational figure, and our thoughts and commiserations with his family and his friends, his many friends who I know from looking at Twitter just how many people felt the loss when Steve sadly died. We move on. This part of the show. Sorry, I was going to.
No. It's always testament to someone like that when you do see the outpouring afterwards.
Yeah.
You realise what a good bloke he was and stuff, don't you? Afterwards, it's something you said the other week. You're saying, these people, the great people, and I'm sure that they've got a lot of circle of friends. They don't need people to tell them. It'd be nice to celebrate them whilst they are still with us, wouldn't it? But
it would, and I think there should be more of it. To be honest, in terms of naming of stands after famous players, for instance, at Sheffield United, I think I wrote the article. Where's the Tony Curry stand?
Yeah, exactly.
There should have been a Tony Curry stand about 20 years ago, in my view, and I can't understand why it's taking so long. Where is the David Hurst stand, for instance, at Sheffield Wednesday? It's not just one club.
Yeah.
And my view is we should appreciate and say what we think of people far more while they're here. But I think that many people have the opportunity to say that to and about Steve Adams, which sad, obviously tragic though his illness was, at least they did have that opportunity in his case. Before I just come to you, James, being head of academy coaching, I think I got the title right, Stephen. Tell me what that actually means.
I basically lead the team of coaches who work with players from under 9 up to under 23, making sure the sort of playing philosophy is coherent and consistent right through the age groups, so that boys who progress through the pathway are playing a similar style of football, getting similar messages, so it makes that progression easier for the players.
Is that set by the way the first team play, the way that you're looking all the age groups to play, or is that you at the academy and others setting that?
No, I think it's really important from a club point of view that that's joined up with the first team, and we've got a first team manager who likes good football, and his principles on the game are the same as the academy. So again, that makes the transition from a young player into a first team player, hopefully that bit easier.
Do you speak a lot to Carlos? How much interaction is there between you and the head coach?
Yeah, obviously don't see him loads to speak to on a one-to-one basis, but his staff are very open, and he comes into technical board meetings where we discuss player development issues with players right through the pathway. So he has an impact on what we do at academy level.
He likes people to pass from the back. Sorry, James, I'll bring you in a minute. He likes people to pass from the back. He's got quite a purist style of football, and that is what you try and imprint.
Yeah, I think if you're going to develop players to play at the top level, I think it's key that they can handle the ball. So, a lot of our training sessions right through the pathways on about ball manipulation, particularly at the younger end, and possession type practices where they can get lots of touches of the ball and handle the ball and then use it effectively. Obviously, as they start to get older, you give them tactical work as well, so they understand systems of play, and decision making becomes part of their sort of armoury.
Yeah. I was looking at something this week, talking about AFC Wimbledon's setup. You'll probably know exactly what I'm going to bring up here.
Okay.
You might not, and if you don't, it's great. Sure. It's I'll spring it on you. So at some age groups, they want all players to be ambidextrous with their both feet, which obviously is an ideal situation. So what they do is they make some of their younger lads wear a yellow sock on one foot, and make sure that so all the coaches can see which is their weaker foot, and they sort of make them use that foot until they then get presented with a blue sock, so match the other blue sock when they are.
That's brilliant. I don't read that. That's a brilliant idea. Because I hate to see one-footed players, don't you? Well, get on the right-hand side, but they have to cut back to the left to cross it. Hate seeing that.
There's so many brilliant ones. What do you think of that idea?
Well, it's an innovative idea. It's unique. I must say I've not heard about it before, but I think two-footed players are what you wanting really. But not every player is the same, and I'll put one name to you that's predominantly left-footed, and that's Lionel Messi.
Yeah.
Who doesn't use his right foot much.
No,
he can use his right foot, but he's predominantly left footed, and he's the best player in the world. So I think to pigeonhole players and say you've got to do this and got to do that, and there's more than one way to be a successful player, and that's a good example.
It's right for a player, I suppose, isn't it? If a player is predominantly left and they've got just no chance with the right foot, just keep at it. But then if there's one who's shown a bit of promise with both, obviously I suppose.
I think what you find sometimes is players who are two-footed probably aren't outstanding with either foot, but they're probably proficient. Whereas the one who uses his left foot all the time is probably outstanding with that one foot and weaker. So
you were a utility player in the days when you used to use that term utility player, which has tended to drop now. You wouldn't.
I don't know.
You don't know what I'm talking about. Well, that's an all-purpose, a versatile player. Okay. I mean, Stephen, you played all across the back four, and you played as a holding midfield player as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up as a centre back. All my youth football was a centre back, sort of stood at the back reading the play, organising and leading and using the ball simply. I got to sort of 18, 19 when my growth had finished and didn't grow beyond 6 foot. So that became a challenge to me to find a position, and that invariably became full back, a little bit holding midfield, and a little bit at centre back as well.
Which did you prefer?
Centre back was always the position that I felt most comfortable in.
Yeah. And you went on and played for Halifax Town, more about that later, Northampton, and then Halifax again, where he played for a certain manager, by the way, for a number of years. Bury, and as you mentioned earlier, Hartlepool. And you captained England schoolboys against Brazil. And, in the England team, Michael Owen.
That's right, Michael Owen scored on the day, yeah.
Wow,
right.
That's amazing, yeah.
Michael Ball.
Yeah. I mean, I was at Lilleshall as well, the national school, and those two boys you just mentioned were at the national school as well. So, like I said, I lived alongside them for 2 years.
Wes Brown was another.
Yeah.
And in the Brazil team, one name in particular stands out.
Yeah, didn't realise on the day, obviously. But look back in years to come, and obviously Ronaldinho was playing up front.
You marking him?
They played a very strange system on the day, nothing totally unorthodox from an English point of view in that sort of era. They had a back four, 2 holding midfield players, 2 sort of number 10s, and then 2 wide strikers. So as I played centre back that day alongside Wes Brown, and didn't really have anyone to mark, but runners and rotation in front of you. So it was a challenging day, but we kept a clean sheet. So.
Oh, look at that! That's a claim to fame, isn't it?
That's you retire there a minute on that one. Mind you, of course, as you say, he wasn't the household name that he was going to become.
And interestingly, when you look back at the video footage, he was very, very small on the day. Very skillful, but very small. So it just goes to show with young players at that sort of age, you're never quite sure where they're going to go.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Your thoughts on Chris Wilder, the manager of Sheffield United, because I know you know him fairly well, having played for him.
Yeah, I played under Chris for around 3 seasons at Halifax Town. Excellent manager. Even all those years ago, I thought he had a bright future, and he's gone on to prove that. And obviously last season, he romped League One with Sorry, League Two with Northampton, and obviously he's having a good season with Sheffield United now as well.
Looks like romping League One. 2 seasons back to back like that, incredible. But it's not just come out of thin air or out of the blue. When you actually look at the development of his career,
he's done the groundwork, Chris. You know, I think he managed Alfreton to start with. Was at Halifax in a real testing time. Not a great budget. We overachieved. I think it's fair to say that we got 8 minutes away from getting back in the Football League. He then went to Oxford, got them out of the conference. So he's had success along the way at different levels, but he's always sort of had a degree of success.
Yeah, and that continues.
It does indeed.
Sure, you're delighted, as we all are. Are we?
Trying to catch him out there.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of qualities, Chris, but his one weakness is that he's a blade. But
And you grew up as a dyed-in-the-wool blue and white owl. Yeah, and that's not true of everybody that you've worked with at Hillsborough, is it really? Over the years, there's been a few blades lurking in there.
Yeah, I think in probably Sheffield United, there's probably some Wednesday fans infiltrated that camp. And I know there's 1 or 2, who I won't name, but 1 or 2 United fans that have played and worked at Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, all right, James, take it away. Everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. We're talking about Chris Wilder. Passion is the word that springs to mind, certainly for both fans and supporters. Last weekend in the round of games, and also on Tuesday night as well. Let's look at Wednesday. 5-1, of course, last week, and then followed it up with frustrating 1-1 draw against Burton on Tuesday night. The Owls still, though, in the playoff spots, and considering that Leeds or Reading didn't win either, not too bad a result, but I think now they want to be looking over their shoulders at Fulham, don't they? Because they're sort of creeping up game in hand as well.
Funnily enough, that's the team I'm covering on Saturday, doing a game for TalkSport at Newcastle Fulham, and I see that being a very interesting, exciting game because Fulham will, Newcastle are vulnerable at home, have been. They can be attacked and can be scored against, and Fulham are the kind of team that's very fluent going forward. We've got Kevin McDonald in there, used to be at Sheffield United. Ken is a superb midfield player. Sassignon, he was only on the bench the other. I think they've got some super players, Fulham. I think they've underachieved a bit.
Absolutely. Sheffield Wednesday needs to be looking over their shoulders then, and really. I mean,
I don't know, but I
think
it's healthy if they're looking at the positions, because I think those who watch them fairly regularly think they should be a position or 2 higher.
Absolutely,
and the capabilities there to do that.
Absolutely. Well,
I don't know if Mr. Haslam's got a view on that, or whether it would sort of cut across one of his bosses probably to have a view on that. But
no, I mean, they're well placed in 6th position, like you just said. 1 or 2 teams chasing them, but looking forward as well. So a tough challenge lies ahead, but one that I'm sure they'll be preparing really well for.
Absolutely. Away to Aston Villa on the weekend, as you mentioned, and that's always a great atmosphere and a big game. I know they're not involved in anything really now, Villa, but
but a huge club, massive fan base, and underachieved this year. So it will be a tough game, which a lot of the Championship games are.
They're always close, aren't they?
Absolutely. Big game. Blades as well. Hard-fought 3-3 draw at the weekend against Rochdale, followed by an awesome win on Tuesday night down at Oxford. Chris Wilder sort of pumping the Blades badge, kissing the badge, waving at the fans, sort of videos doing the rounds on social media. There gives them an 11-point gap over 3rd position, though, more importantly, after Scunthorpe slipped up against Charlton on Tuesday night. They're away at Swindon on Tuesday for the Blades, no game this week, and they're going to play against Millwall. It's been rearranged for Saturday the 28th. Look at our non-league sides now. Hallam playing Selby Town away from home on Saturday. Need to have a strong finish to the season to maintain their playoff hopes. A bit like Sheffield Wednesday, really. In the playoffs at the moment, teams chasing them behind, games in hand as well. And whilst across the city, Sheffield FC, they lost to Shaw Lane on Tuesday night, play against Chasetown on Saturday. The ladies, though, they lost their first game of the season away at Durham on Sunday night. But this Sunday they play against Everton at home, get to the Coach and Horses ground. Great standard of football. Alan experienced it last season. Brilliant game to watch against Everton. 2 p.m. kickoff it is at the Coach and Horses ground. Sheffield Eagles got battered 50 points to 10 against Hull KR. They are top of the league, in fairness. Another tough one, though, for the Eagles to play at home. I say home loosely. Play against, at Wakefield is their home ground now, against Featherstone Rovers, who are 2nd placed in the league. So not the easiest run. Hopefully come out of that and then get into the season properly for Mark Aston's side. Sheffield Steelers, Jonathan Phillips. I said Jonathan Edwards last week, so I'll correct myself there. Not the triple jumper, as Billy Sharp pointed out. He was the only unhappy Welshman on Sunday down in Cardiff. Because they lost in the final of the Challenge Cup to the Cardiff Devils. Chance to get revenge on them, though, on Sunday in the league at the Arena after a trip up to Braehead on Saturday. Well, International Women's Day yesterday, so I thought I'd give a debut mention, and deservedly so as well, to Sheffield RUFC ladies. Well, they are 13 games unbeaten, 14 points clear at the top of their league, which is National 2. Their male counterparts, they're third in their league, just a few points off the promotion spot. So what a happy ending to the season that could be for Sheffield Rugby Club down at Abbeydale. Sheffield Sharks in action on Friday, at home against Glasgow Rocks, and away on Sunday to Cheshire Phoenix. As always, English Institute of Sport, 7:30 tip-off if you fancy some basketball. Joe Root's just scored 100. I'm not sure how West Indies, England is getting on at the moment, but well done to Joe. And also, I've just got to plug this as well. If you're wanting your sporting fix, well, Sheffield Varsity gets underway on Saturday. It's brilliant, great standard of sport. There's 1,000 athletes across 35 different sports competing. There's 80 fixtures from rugby, basketball, wheelchair basketball. There's hockey, boxing, lacrosse, golf, you name it, all those things. So have a look on the website if you fancy a bit of that. Really good standard as well. Get yourselves down. I think the grand finale, I might be correct in saying, is at the Motorpoint Arena, which is ice hockey. So that should be fantastic. So there you are.
Okay, yeah, excellent. Thanks very much, James.
Pleasure.
Last week, by the way, it was guests 3, presenters 0, wasn't it? Because, okay, you had your little slip with the skipper of the Sheffield Steelers, and then I got the name of one of the guests wrong. Didn't I? Believe it or not, Fred, I got one of the names of the guests wrong last week. Yeah, poor, and I must apologise to Mike Pickering again. There's a reason.
Mick McCarthy.
Well, we talked about Mick. I called him Mike McCarthy at the end.
It's confusing.
We discussed Mick McCarthy, but there's another reason for it. A friend over many years, a journalist friend I used to work with on a radio station, and recently has been the head of news at Sky, recently retired from that, Mike McCarthy. There you are. There's always a reason why. There's always a reason why.
Now let's have a chat to Simon here anyway. All right.
Yeah. One of the questions I got for you was about paperwork, although it's not paperwork these days, it's computer work. And no names, no pack drill, but academy coaches I've spoken to over the years, over recent years, have said, you know, it's a bit like being a school teacher. There's so many boxes to tick and all of this. How much time do you actually spend on that clerical administration work?
Quite a lot, but my core job is to be out on the grass or the AstroTurf working with the coaches and the players. So, you know, it's.
Do you find yourself taking that home to do that at home or at weekends so that you, during the week, you can actually be out on the training ground?
You do, but you do find that to keep on top of things, it's a daily thing. So every day, obviously, a laptop now is part of the modern coach's sort of toolkit now.
And it's not just, it's about keeping track of how many hours they've done, what they've done in those hours. Educational, it's not just the football, is it?
That's right. I mean, we've got different departments at the academy, like all academies now: recruitment, sports science, coaching, education and welfare, and we have a multidisciplinary approach where we work with the players. So a lot of record keeping, so you can look back, and every 6 weeks, every parent gets feedback on their son's development.
A school report, if you like.
That's right, and it's detailed and covers different aspects of their performance plus potential going forward. So it's a real in-depth operation now. I think since the Premier League implemented the EPPP, it sort of professionalised the academy setup really. So a lot of it's been good, but you will find that a common gripe of academy coaches is the amount of administrative stuff that's required. But
also players that you can lose because of that system from the catchment area, I suppose. You know, that Sheffield Wednesday, this triple P system.
Yeah.
EPPP, is
That's
it?
right, Elite Player Performance Plan.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you said that. It still leaves the way open for the Predators, doesn't it?
It does. Like I said, the Premier League set this system up. There's compensation rights for players at different ages, and we do find that some clubs are really aggressive in their recruitment. So there will be boys in the city who are playing for clubs in Manchester, for example.
Well, I was going to say, how hard do you find it? I mean, you might not have so far, but have you found it difficult to sort of hold on to those players then?
50-50 really. We've got some boys who Man City have courted and they've got allegiance to the club, been with us a long time, enjoy where they're at. They can see a pathway moving forward in terms of getting in the under-18 team, getting in the under-23 team early. So they'll stay with us. Likewise, we have had one under-9 last year, for example, who did go to Man City. So It's not one-way traffic either way, really.
It's the lure, isn't it, of sort of, because they've got the private school thing attached to them now. You know, all these promises. It's incredible, absolutely incredible, that campus. And I suppose it's that wow factor, isn't it? You know, and I'm not playing down, but you know, Shirecliffe, Middlewood Road, you turn up, great facilities.
It doesn't have that same impact.
But it doesn't have. If you're a kid of 12, 13, you're walking through those doors, it's like Fort Knox to get in, and they're showing you around where you know all the training ground. It's difficult.
It is. It's a big lure. There's no doubt. It's a big lure for players and parents at all ages. But do facilities make players? I'm not so sure. We used to create players back in the day when facilities weren't great. So
the other thing is Sheffield Wednesday's profile has been considerably lifted over the last couple of years, hasn't it?
Most definitely, and the style of football they've played, I think, has been excellent as well. You know, it's been attractive. Fans have enjoyed coming to watch. Even the game at the weekend against Norwich when they scored 5 goals.
Yeah.
You know, fantastic game for fans to come and cheer the team on.
Well, you're looking for the potential and the talent to break into that standard, that level of football. But I would imagine it's truer now with all the counter attractions that there are for kids than it ever was. Just simple hard work, dedication. I know these are boring words, and hunger and all of that.
Yeah.
Do you find that you're constantly having to drum that into young players?
I think probably young people in general, you know, at times they need a talking to, at times they show a fantastic attitude and get on with life. But, you know, going back to what Clive Baker used to say all those years ago to us young players, was the 3 A's, he called it: attitude, ability and ambition, and I think that holds true today.
Yeah,
you know, old-fashioned sort of values, but they're more than applicable in this modern era.
They're more difficult to implant in an age where, at a very young age, a player can have a flash car in a car park because of what he's getting, even with his first professional contract.
That's right, but I think the best players at whatever club you go to, they're the ones that look beyond that and they want to be a footballer and they're willing to run through a brick wall to achieve their goals, really.
Absolutely. Do you still like to sort of drill the old school tactics into them, cleaning the boot room, and if it's not clean, you know, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, the under 18, the scholars, as we call them, they've got some duties to do, which we make sure they're done and they're done well. And obviously at away games they leave the changing room spotless. It's part of our standards and our sort of values. They don't do as many jobs as what they did back in the day, but there's still an element of that's I think is positive.
Yeah.
And what about you know, when players go from academy football, it's a big football, like say a League 2 team on loan, the physical side and the hurly-burly of it is often too much for them, isn't it? And there's that criticism that never used to happen when there was a proper reserve league. Yeah,
possibly. I mean, Sean Clare, an example, he's out at League 2 at Accrington Stanley. He's 20 years old, and it's our judgment that he's ready for that level of football. And he started virtually every game for Accrington and performed quite well. So it's a professional opinion on our part to send these boys out on loan when they're ready.
Brilliant.
When they're ready.
A big part of his development. That's proper football, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And to cope
real
with that,
football.
To cope with that is a major plus, a major sign.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, we've come to the end. Can you believe that?
It's flown by.
Again, the time has beaten us. But thank you both. Thank you to James.
Yeah, pleasure.
Keeping us abreast of so much going on in the city. Thank you to you for watching. Appreciate your company this and every week. We've got a star of cricket, the cricket fraternity on the show, and next week, if I've got my memory on. In the meantime, let me properly thank our guest and get his name right, Steven Haslam, for joining us for the past hour. Thank you to you for watching. Repeat at 11 or on my YouTube channel this evening. Thanks very much. See you. Bye.